All right, welcome back to the T1 F-22. So I jumped to the rudders, like I said, and think we may be okay. This one's in, but they are definitely not the same angle. So hopefully, this looked to be the worst one on the off angle. So hopefully this one is better. But I put the rudder on, drew the outline of it because I knew I was going to have to trim. And I just enough right there. So you see just a little gap when the rudder's on in this area here. I did have to grind out quite a bit on this back wall. There's a bulkhead here that goes all the way down. Your stab tube is through that and everything. So I didn't want to go cutting too much off of that, but I did have to do this much, about probably 2 millimeters to get the servo in, which I didn't have to do last time. I had to do a little bit on this side. Actually, it was more on this side because the angle was right on the last one, so it required this side because this one's tilted more this way versus this way. So it's in. I put the rudder on it. These are they dropped onto the output shaft of the servo, which is good. No slop with the screw on. I would like it to be a little bit tighter, but not where I've seen some that you've got to like press them on, which I think is just too tight. I'd rather have a little snug fit, but that's okay. It's tight on the shaft with the screw in there. The drive unit in the rudder that goes, it's a torque tube from a helicopter. That's exactly what it is, and you can kind of see it there, right there. Those two little T-arms go into the grooves, and there's a little ball joint. So it does have some ability to be off angle. I was just worried about these being too far off angle where they would hit and bind up. I put an amp meter in line with my little servo controller, and I went back and forth. The servo is going to have to come up probably, especially on the back side, if I remember correctly. This side will actually have to come up more this way. So it's going to have to do this to shim it, and then up all together about 1/4 of an inch. Because the front side ball or little T-arm is right at the very tip, and then on the back side, the ball or the T is actually not in the groove. So you have to lift it up, and this is super tight, which is good. I'd rather than be a little. I actually took a little 1000 grit sandpaper and with a little piece of wood and just kind of went over and kept test fitting on the joint or the tube or the rudder drive unit to get one side was really tight, the other side was perfect. This side is a little tight, so I don't want to go doing too much to it because next thing you know, you breathe on it and it's too much. So I do want to loosen it up a little bit because it's really hard to get on there. And I know it'll work over time, but I don't, I think the most I saw when I moved it was like an amp, but I didn't go to the extremes. I didn't go very much travel, so these will be towing in on takeoff to help it rotate. So I want to make sure I get a good smooth, no slop setup. But if this is the worst of the two, then I think it's going to be okay. It's a pain in the butt. I don't like this. I wish they would just make a jig so they're in there at the proper angle, because having to sit here and shim this and retry is just, I had to do it on the first one. It's honestly, it's the hardest part of the build. So I'm going to try the switch to this side and see how it goes. Simple rudder, 2 carbon tubes. This little piece here is just what holds it on. There's an actual metal aluminum plate inside the rudder with a thread on it. So you take one of these, I'm guessing this is a 4mm. You got 2 of these 4mm screws to hold it on. That's all that holds on your rudder. I did on the last one, then they actually did it on this one, that little bracket right there, which is this little rudder hold on, they had just glued on. They didn't put any screws in there. This one, they actually put screws in there. So that's a good thing. Man, they really love their high saw. Okay, so yeah, it's nice and secure this time. So we'll see how this second one goes. You know, I had the guy come over, and a buddy of mine that lives here in Huntsville with us, he works with Pacific, and they're the T1 guys, so he came over and checked it out and took some pictures. You know, so hopefully this doesn't happen again. But yeah, so we're gonna work on this one a little bit, and hopefully it goes in easier than this one. So the wings, update on the wings. This mount, I know the guy that bought mine, he took a picture of that mount, and it is parallel to the skin, and it's not as thick, which is why this one isn't going to work. So this is kind of glued in off angle. It's not perpendicular to the skin. It's more this way versus straight up. So it's causing this mount to kind of go up as it comes out. And this, you know, you would have to clearly cut out this whole skin to use it like it is. So this is going to have to be cut down somehow. So I'll probably just end up getting a sander, the Dremel, and with the drum, and just going down this side, kind of like right through here, and angling it down, and this one, same thing, going down, 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 until I can get it where I can mount these with screws, and, you know, to where it mates up. That's the only thing I can do at this point, because it's just cutting all that out and re-gluing. It's just, you know, not an option. And you know, we looked at using like an L bracket on this versus this T1, but when you do that, it drops the servo down even further, and then you run into, you know, servo arms hitting this thing. So you would literally, all your throw would be like up in this area, and you'd have to go longer, which you can't go too long, because then you hit the cover. So this is going to be the easiest option, just sanding down, put an angle on this, and then what I'll probably do is put another ply block under there and glue it in, so that way my screws have more to go into, because it's going to get pretty thin. Like, it's going to literally be probably half the thickness of this when I'm done. So I'm going to glue in a block on the bottom and go from there. So, and then on the leading edge flap, the one that's missing the rod end down here, the only thing I can do at this point is to take and cut a rectangular spot out of that hinge gap piece, put the rod and clevis in, and then glue it back in. That's the only thing I can do. So shouldn't have to do that, but it is what it is at this point. So all right, so I'm gonna get back to the other servo. Love the new shop vac. It's awesome. It's pretty cool, because I did in the last video, you'll see, you know, that bag connects to this. So as you're sucking on the dust, it goes into a HEPA filter bag, and then you got the nice HEPA filter on the actual unit itself. And then this one has that little exhaust filter. So that's about as good as you're gonna get without wearing some type of mask and a respirator type system when you're sanding. And like I said, I'm just sanding these carbon fiber stuff and wood. It's not good to breathe that stuff in. Got to protect yourself at all times. So I goofed up, and you know, it's kind of it's funny how it turned out, but I got the Minion Jet on all of its wheels. So in my search for a replacement, you know, I looked at Global Jet Club's version. I think Pilot has a version. I don't know. There's like 4 different companies that make a large Viper jet. It's like F-16. Everybody in the sun makes an F-16. But I got tunnel visioned on this one because of that right there. The center section stays on. You can leave the center section on. The gear's in the center section, so I can essentially take that rudder off and roll this bad boy right in my trailer, and squat it and leave it there until I'm ready to take it out. But I thought I had seen one of these, and I'm pretty sure I did, and it didn't seem to be this big. Like, I don't remember it being anywhere near this big. But what I didn't realize is this is actually not a 3 meter. This is bigger. Like a 3 meter that I saw from, I believe it was Global Jet Club, like I had a length of 115 inches. This is 133 inches long and 144 inches wide. And based on Skymaster's thing, says it's a 1/2.5 scale. So I guess this would be more like 4 meters. I don't know. But yeah, that's why it looks so big, or bigger than I remember, because it is. So, but you know, it's cool. It was wife approved. So I just got to get much bigger minions, and you wouldn't believe how hard it is to find toy minions. But I guess they weren't designed to put in RC jets. Anyways, but that's it, man. It's an awesome jet. I'm gonna turn it on the side here, and there you go. And kind of get an idea and everything. The retracts worked really well, just with some light pressure to unlock and come up. Because I had it inverted and just opened them up, and they worked really well. They're nice wheels. So yeah, I look forward to getting on it. I'm not gonna have a motor for it, but at least I can get everything and it just be waiting on a motor. I got to find out from some people, because that forward crossbeam right there, I want to cut that out for the cockpit purposes. But you know, you don't want to go changing things, because you know that could flex and cause the canopy to explode. But this thing has 2 guides on each side to lock it in so it doesn't flex in and out. So I'll just make sure those are really nice and snug, and then it has a rod that runs all the way down. So this edge isn't going to move in and out, and there's a peg here. So I think I can cut that, because I did that on a Fabao, but it was the 2.5 meter one. But if you've got this model, let me know if you left that, or if there's been any issues with the canopy. I seem like I remember one blowing its canopy out very on, but this seems like a pretty stiff canopy. It's pretty heavy too. So hopefully there's no issue with that. And then if anybody's got a picture of the nose door gear, or nose gear door, and the air cylinder, where and how it's mounted, you know, shoot me some pictures, because this one's missing the air cylinder for the nose. And I don't remember seeing any pictures of where it was actually located. I'm assuming in the front. Typically the best place would be to put it in the front. I don't think it needs to, you know, but it could be an option. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to the F-22. Been pulling out some servos and everything like that, and kind of doing some initial planning on this, but I want to get this one done before I do this one. So I wish Skymaster, I wish Skymaster wouldn't cut holes in them. I don't know why. I know they don't want to put it on the joint, but because you're gluing something in there, I would just not cut and let the customer cut the holes. Anyway, so you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Gonna get back to this